I wanted to start today with Nancy Pelosi. I want to start with Nancy Pelosi. Not because, I'm a sexist or I'm an ageist, but I think it's super, super, super important that we separate fact versus fiction about Nancy Pelosi. I also think it's important. I'm not knocking Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who has essentially come out in support of Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. But what I am saying is, Speaker of the House is not going to be voted on till January. So what I don't understand, based on Nancy Pelosi's clear ties to fossil fuel companies, fossil fuel plutocrats, fossil fuel donors, which I've done quite a lot of research on, which I'm about to show you. What I don't understand is why is the knee-jerk reaction, whether it be Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or others, to say, well, she's the most progressive candidate running, so we're going to push for her. Why isn't from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and other progressives in the House of Representatives, they're more of a push to push an actual progressive to run against her? If you've been living under a rock, there was a disastrous climate report that was dropped literally on the day after Thanksgiving. They dropped it on a Friday after Thanksgiving because it's horrendous, it's terrible, and they were hoping it wouldn't get a lot of attention. That's generally why you bury things on a holiday or the day after a holiday. On Friday, the busiest shopping day of the year, the federal government published a massive and dire new report on climate change. The report warns repeatedly and directly that climate change could soon imperil the American way of life, transforming every region of the country, imposing frustrating costs on the economy, and harming the health of virtually every citizen. Most significantly, the National Climate Assessment, which is endorsed by NASA, NOAA, the Department of Defense, and the 10 other federal scientific agencies, contradicts nearly every position taken on the issue by President Donald Trump. Where the president has insisted that fighting global warming will harm the economy, the report responds, climate change, if left unchecked, could eventually cost the economy hundreds of billions of dollars per year and kill thousands of Americans to boot. Where the president has said that the climate will probably change back. Oh my God. The report replies, many consequences of climate change will last for the millennia, and some, such as the extinction of the planet and animal species, will be permanent. The report is a huge achievement for American science. It represents cumulative decades of work from more than 300 authors. Since 2015, scientists from across the U.S. government, state universities, and businesses have read thousands of studies, summarizing and collating them into this document. By law, a national climate assessment like this must be published every 4 years. The report is blunt. Climate change is happening now, and humans are causing it. Earth's climate is now changing faster than at any point in the history of modern civilization, primarily as a result of human activities, declares its first sentence. At this point, such an idea might be common wisdom, but this does not make it any less shocking or less correct. For centuries, humans have lived near the ocean, assuming that the sea will not often move from its fixed location. They have planted wheat at its time and corn at its time, assuming that the harvest will not often falter. They have delighted in December snow and looked forward to springtime blossoms, assuming that the seasons will not shift from their course. Now, the sea is lifting above its shore. The harvest is faltering, and the seasons arrive and depart in disorder. The report tells the story, laying simple facts on simple facts so as to build a terrible edifice. Since 1901, the U.S. has warmed 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Heat waves now arrive earlier in the year and abate later than they did in the 1960s. Mountain snowpack in the West has shrunk dramatically in the past half century. 16 of the warmest 17 years on records have occurred since 2000. The report visits each region, describing the local upheavals wrought by global transformation. Across the Southeast, massive wildfires like those seen in California could soon become a regular occurrence. Jen, please get me the up-to-date death count on the California wildfires. I believe it's close to 100 at this point. So they're telling you massive wildfires like we're seeing now could soon become a regular occurrence, smothering Atlanta and other cities in toxic smog. So it's coming to the East Coast too, these wildfires. In New England and the mid-Atlantic, it says oceanfront barrier islands could erode and narrow. And in the Midwest, it forecasts plunging yields of corn, soybeans, wheat, and rice. Its projections of sea level rise are just as ominous. If carbon pollution continues to rise, a huge swath of the Atlantic coast, from North Carolina to Maine, will see sea level rises of 5 feet by 2100. So that would be 82 years from now. New Orleans, Houston, and the Gulf Coast could also face 5 feet of rising seas. Even Los Angeles and San Francisco could see the Pacific Ocean rise by 3 feet. Even if humanity were to reduce the burning of fossil fuels, the report forecasts that New Orleans could still see 5 feet of sea level rise. Now, I didn't read the whole report. It's about 1,600 pages. But one thing that I did see that remained fairly absent, which is not shocking considering what the Trump administration, thank you, Jen, the death toll for the California wildfires is now 87 people. So, and thank you to, we just got our first GoFundMe contribution of the day to Bhavana, BHAVANA, donated $5 and wrote, status quo covers news that generally does not get covered. All the best to you all. Thank you, Bhavana. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing. And folks, $5, if that's all you have, feel free. There's no amount too small or too large. So, if it has, Nagautson S, has the litigation between TYT and Jordan Chariton been resolved? If it has, I hope Jordan was victorious. That happened a while ago, yeah. That's been over for a long time. Can't say anything more, but it's all good. Nagautson. It's all good in the hood. So, I'm telling you the climate change information to show you that obviously there is no... Oh, Jerry Ross, my favorite troll, is here, who literally lives in the sand. His head is so far into the sand or so far up ExxonMobil and Dakota Access Pipeline's ass, he can't see straight. So, Jerry, I'm about to educate you a little bit. So, I feel this is not just as a progressive wanting the most progressive Speaker of the House. I think as all Americans, whether you're progressive, whether you're conservative, whether you're non-political at all, we do not have time. There is no time left for a politician, either as president, as vice president, as Speaker of the House, in any leadership positions, who say the right things, but in practice, through the money they take and the policies they push, are literally funded by fossil fuel companies. There is no time. We cannot deal with fake progressives anymore, and we cannot thrive with the Nancy Pelosi's of the world. We need a progressive as Speaker of the House. So that's why this is not, I don't mean this in a condescending way, but I'm not totally convinced that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others who are saying, well, Nancy Pelosi at this point is the most progressive option, know her full record. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. I mean that because the corporate media doesn't report these things. So, and we just got another GoFundMe contribution, this time from Colin. Colin, thank you very much for the $10 on the GoFundMe. Again, we're at $22,000, so we're trying to raise that fund as much as we can. So $5, $10. If everybody contributes watching, we might possibly get to $25,000 today. $25,000 is the halfway of our $50,000 goal. So we can only do it with you. So I hope you help us get in there and help us become part of your holiday budget. Colin left $10 and says, hey, Jordan, thanks for the work you and everyone in Status Quo do. Keep it up. We need more of this. I shall. Thank you for the contribution. So, before I get into Nancy Pelosi's ties to the fossil fuel industry, I want to play a clip from Miss Nancy Pelosi on Meet the Press 9 years ago. You ready? Okay.
I believe in natural gas as a clean, cheap alternative to fossil fuels.
I'm going to play that One more
We know
time.
now.
I believe in natural gas as a clean, cheap alternative to fossil fuels.
So, Nancy Pelosi, right there, I don't know where to even start. Nancy Pelosi, first of all, said natural gas is a clean alternative to fossil fuels. I don't know if Nancy Pelosi has looked up what natural gas is. It is fossil fuels. And she was, if you Google that, she was widely criticized, frankly, for not understanding that natural gas is a fossil fuel. It's not a fossil fuel. Even Jerry Ross, my favorite troll, since my TYT days, Jerry Ross has traveled with me to Status Quo. He's very loyal. Even though I haven't seen you donate, Jerry. If you're going to troll me and make my life fucking miserable, at least give me some money, damn it. So Nancy Pelosi, just less than a decade ago, said natural gas is a cleaner alternative to fossil fuels. Number one, natural gas is a fossil fuel. I don't know if she knew that at that point. I hope she knows it now. Number two, Nancy Pelosi, in that clip, is literally reciting oil company talking points and fossil fuel company talking points. You know, that's not me saying it. It's right there on the videotape. This isn't 20 years ago. This is 9 years ago. If any of you are environmental activists, if any of you in the audience are indigenous, if any of you live near these pipelines of natural gas, you are all too familiar. These are not cleaner options. Methane, which is emitted during fracking, and most of these natural gas pipelines are fracked gas. Methane is more toxic than carbon dioxide in terms of climate change, and in terms of the environment. So for Nancy Pelosi, just 9 years ago, to say natural gas is a cleaner alternative, and Hillary Clinton was pushing this nonsense. Hillary Clinton was pushing this nonsense when she was in Secretary of State and pushing fracking all around the world, and when she was running for president. Natural gas is not a cleaner option. These pipelines with natural gas leak. These pipelines with natural gas explode. Just building these pipelines shifts the movement of the earth, just in building them. And natural gas, look it up, methane releases more greenhouse gases in the environment, contributing to climate change, contributing to all the things that this report that came out Friday tells you. But here you have the more progressive candidate, as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is saying. And again, I'm not trying to knock Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but these are the facts. She's not progressive, and she's in bed with fossil fuel companies, which I'm about to tell you and show you. But I wanted to show you that clip because it's important to understand she doesn't understand the dire results of natural gas, which is not natural. That is a bullshit term that people like Jerry Ross and his masters from the fossil fuel companies have put out. There's nothing natural about fracking. Nothing natural about fracking. You use some of the dirtiest chemicals to get that gas out of the earth. And the methane that is emitted is literally contributing to the wildfires, to the drought, to everything.